Good evening and welcome to the Commission on Police Practices meeting.
I got it.
We are starting at 4:54. And so I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting, and we're going to have roll call by Ms. Condi.
All right. All right. Oh, I think I lowered it. You guys, you can hear me. Okay, nice. All right. Chair Gloria Tran. Thank you. First Vice Chair Dennis Brown. Second Vice Chair Doug Case. Octavio Aguilar is not here yet, but okay. Layla Aziz is excused. Bonnie Benitez. Thank you. Alec Byer. Thank you. Cheryl Canton. Thank you. Christina Griffin Jones is absent. Christina Griffin Jones. Oh, she's excused as well?
No.
Oh, no. So, just not here. Okay, got it. Lupe Diaz. Dwayne Harvey. Brandon Hilbert is excused. James Justice.
Here.
Thank you. Darlan Wilmot, Clovis Honore, Dennis Larkin, and Ivania Rubio are excused. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Condi. Do we have non-agenda? Oh, actually, let's go to approval of the minutes. I know that we have an amendment request from a member of the community, Kate Yavendetti, who would like to add in the comments on why the speakers did not want to use the ADL for training. So those comments specifically will be coming to be added to the minutes, and we will give them to Ms. Condi. Any other changes in the minutes?
Are we waiting to approve then?
Yeah.
Or we're waiting to approve the minutes?
No. We're going to approve them, and then we'll put the specifics on the reasons why that weren't captured in there. So the amendment is to add the reason why the speakers did not want the ADL used in training.
So we're approving minutes, but we haven't seen the amendment.
That is the amendment. Why they don't want it. It wasn't in the minutes, but they expressed why. So we're going to add why they didn't want it. We can postpone this until next. Okay. Let's postpone this.
Okay.
Those minutes. Ms. Obi, can you have her email those to you so we can get them in? Thank you. Okay. So now I'm not agenda public comment.
Yes, we have one in-person non-agenda public comment. Miss Ada Rodriguez, you have 90 seconds.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Just wanted to introduce myself. I was appointed a commissioner recently for at-large. And I just wanted, while I'm eagerly awaiting to be, to take the oath of office, just wanted to introduce myself and say that I'm happy to be here and I'm looking forward to ensuring that our police practices reflect professionalism, accountability, and integrity. And I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now moving on to virtual public comment. If you are here to speak during non-agenda virtual comment, please raise your hand now. Again, if you're joining us to speak, please raise your hand now. This concludes public comment.
Thank you, Ms. Obi. All right, we're moving on to the chair report. I'd like to start by saying our 4 new commissioner candidates working their way through the final approval process. And to take the office. We hope to have them join us at our next meeting, and also want to welcome Commissioner candidate Ada Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us. We have 2 more openings for commissioners in the low and moderate income category. The deadline has been extended through March 1st at 11:59. So if anyone is eligible for this category and is interested in joining the Commission on Police Practices, please submit your nomination directly to apply2cpp@sandiego.gov. This information is also on the CPP website's homepage. We have started to include more information on the findings letters that we sent to complainants. We not only include how the CPP voted, but also include comments that the CPP noted in the case review. All the letters are reviewed by outside counsel, Mr. Bennett, to ensure they are within legal standards. My apologies. And also the Cabinet Interim Executive Director and Chief Investigator met with the new Internal Affairs Captain and staff after the last CPP meeting. Second Vice Chair Doug Case has a summary of what was discussed.
Yes, the cabinet, along with the chief investigator Goluba, meets with the IA staff. When in the future, it'll be the week after we meet, so they will have plenty of time to review any comments that we have regarding cases. And part of the purpose of that meeting is to discuss any issues that arise from our case review, and part of it is to discuss any general issues between operational between IA and the CPP. We're not able to discuss, specifics of a case, specific questions, because of confidentiality. But I can say that we had a couple of questions that arose out of our meeting our last meeting where we discussed cases. One was a question that people had regarding whether any of our SDPD vehicles have dash cameras, and the answer was no, that we don't, because of the high cost associated with those. Then there was a discussion of asking IA to have a consistent naming, what's the word, convention, thank you, for body worn camera, which they agreed to do in the past, but as changes have occurred in IA, that hasn't always been carried forward, and they agreed to do that. And so in the future, you should be able to see as the title of the BWC video, the name of the officer, and if they have multiple videos, have them numbered sequentially. So it would be, case 1, case 2, case 3, or Brown 1, Brown 2, Brown 3, whatever it happens to be. So it's easy to define them. And then we had several logistical non-case related issues. We talked about the logistics of getting access to our contract investigator who's going to be doing the review of the closed cases. Since that person will not have a San Diego.gov email, it's going to require a workaround of some sort so they would be able to have access to the files in order to do the case review. We had a question about handling of incomplete and anonymous complaints. The PD accepts anonymous complaints, but they also have a policy that complainants have to sign the statement at the end indicating they understand that they do so. Is it under the penalty of perjury? Yeah, and the answer was that even though that is a requirement, if they get an anonymous complaint, that does not preclude the department from investigating an anonymous complaint. Now, obviously, if they have an anonymous complaint, they may not be able to contact the complainant to get additional details, but they do investigate anonymous complaints where they have enough information, even if the person has not signed the perjury statement. And we also talked about the incomplete complaints, and that kind of depends upon what information is missing. Sometimes there's not enough information to determine whether or not there's been a violation. Sometimes it's a jurisdictional issue where the person they're complaining about works for a different agency and so forth. And then finally, we talked about informal complaints. Informal complaints are the ones where the complainant doesn't want a formal investigation completed. And oftentimes there's numerous reasons for that. And I don't know the exact statistics, but I think last time I saw something, it was like 40% of cases actually are handled informally. And so that usually involves contacting the supervisor of the subject officer, and having a discussion about whatever it was that the person was complaining about. And a lot of people are happy just to have somebody listen to their concern and to have it addressed with the officer, and they don't want a full formal investigation, which, as you know, is fairly comprehensive. A concern that we had was that in looking at some cases, some IA investigators do a really good job of talking to the complainant and explaining the difference and what their options are. Others are not quite as complete in how they or consistent in how they do that. And so IA agreed to reiterate that to their sergeants. And so that's the essence of what we discussed. And then we'll be meeting and not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow to discuss any issues from the cases that are heard tonight, as well as any other issues regarding IA and the CPP.
Thank you, Second Vice Chair Case. Are there any speaker slips, Ms. Obi?
We have no speakers on this item.
In person. If you're joining us to speak virtually, please raise your hand now.
We have no virtual speakers either.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are going to turn to the new Internal Affairs Captain. Do we have any speakers for that?
We have no in-person speakers for this item. And we have no virtual speakers for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I want to introduce the new IA Captain and thank him for coming to our meeting tonight to introduce himself and to take some questions from us. Captain Jeff Peterson.
Voice. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I always like to give a little background just so you know who I am. I've been on the department for a little over 29 years. I have another 5 or 6 to do and then I'll finally be done. This is my 3rd time through internal affairs. Should I go up? This is my 3rd time through internal affairs. I was a detective sergeant in internal affairs from 2010 to 2014. I was the PSU lieutenant from 2019 to 2020. And then I'm back again as of January of this year, now in charge of the kit and caboodle. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Obviously, my previous time was with former CRB, but interested in learning more about CPP and how you're going to function. About me, I'm very flexible and easy to work with. As I was talking with Gloria before the meeting started, I will always deal with all of you in a very respectful manner. Sometimes we are just going to disagree, and that's okay. Smart people sometimes just disagree with each other. But if it can be done, we will get it done, and we will get it done quickly. I understand that your time is important, my time is important, and I don't dilly-dally on stuff. So if you make a request and we're going to make it happen, it's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, not 3 months from now. So I'm certainly happy to take any questions, but looking forward to the opportunity to be back here again and working with all of you.
Any commissioners have any questions or any staff of Captain Peterson? Commissioner Byer.
Hi. What does the thin blue line flag mean to you, and what do you think it means to the community?
Well, I don't know that it's important what it means to me. I don't know what it means to the community because I think different community members, just like different police officers, are going to have different perspectives on it. I don't think of the thin blue line flag is not an important thing to me. It's not representative of who I am or what I believe in. The badge I wear is what's important to me. So that's working around it. Thin blue line flag, thin blue line stuff is just not my thing. But I understand that there's community members who look at it very differently. I see it more as a passive representation of police in general. But I understand there are perspectives on that vary differently from mine.
Yeah, I took a tour of the headquarters, and that flag is hung all over the department.
Well, I don't think it's hung all over the department. There might be flags in various parts, but those are individuals. That's not part of the department hanging those flags.
Well, discipline.
It's because they're both on.
It's hanging in IA. Or at least
That doesn't mean the department hung it there.
Okay, I just
That's an
made,
individual person that hung it there.
okay,
and so-
I think it was in the lobby area and I think part of.
Okay, it's in the lobby area. It's not, there's no rule that prevents it from being up. And I'm not, I didn't put it there, so whoever put it there, it means something for them.
That's my point. What do you think it means?
I don't know. I didn't, I'm not here to answer your questions on my perspective. If that involves a particular case, then we can discuss it there. But I'm not going to wade through your questions on thin blue line things. That's not what this introduction is about.
Well, thank you for that instruction, but the fact remains, you're here in your capacity as the captain of IA, and I would like to know your thoughts on what the thin blue line flag means to you and to your coworkers.
It doesn't mean anything to me, and I'm not going to speak for my coworkers.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. Anyone have any questions? Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Byer. Excuse me, we have Commissioner Justice and then we'll go to Commissioner Byer.
How long will your term be, with IA?
There's going to be no set time for it. Most captains stay in their positions for anywhere between 18 months and 3 years. The decision on that will be up to the chief of police when I move. So at least 18 months. I don't see that changing.
We get your contact information?
Gloria has it and she's free to share it.
I'll forward that to you. Commissioner Byer,
Are you in the drop program?
I am not in the drop program.
Commissioner Benitez,
Question.
I don't know what the drop program is. Would you tell us, please?
The Deferred Retirement Options Program. It's the one that gives you opportunity to sign a contract that says you have 5 years to retire.
anyone else? What do you see the role of the CPP? How do you see our role?
Probably see it similar to the way you see it, an independent board that's going to look at the actions or allegations of misconduct against police officers. I don't see, I'm not worried about it. I think for the most part, having seen what I've seen over the last 29 years, we have officers that do excellent work every day and make mistakes and get held accountable for those things. And we have officers who do really bad things and get held accountable for those things as well. I don't think you'll be surprised or shocked at what you see. But our job is to provide you right now anyways, while you're still in formation, excellent investigations that come out of our office that support either sustained or one of the other 4 findings that you can take and review and be happy with what was produced at IA. And that is my job, is to make sure what comes out of there that although it doesn't have my signature on it, it's certainly been reviewed by me, and therefore I'm responsible for what exits that office.
We have a goal of, we know that you issue discipline around 10 months after a complaint, so that the case doesn't expire by a year, the year expiration. So we have a goal of reviewing cases eventually, and hopefully within the next few months we'll get there, of 9 months prior to a case expiring. So that gives us a month to get our the CPP's case review to IA. How do you see that playing a role in the possible discipline that you issue? Because we'll be working more in a timelier manner than just reviewing cases that are about to expire.
Just to clarify, I won't be issuing discipline anymore as part of this job unless I'm disciplining one of the internal affairs staff. I'm out of the discipline game, but having issued a lot of discipline over the course of the last 2 years at Central Division where I came from, I can tell you that that added extra month, from 10 months down to 9 months makes a big difference when we're talking about large cases. The reason being is up until the moment that the investigation is served and the command gets that investigation, for the most part, they have no idea what is coming. And that very well could be a 500-page investigation that now a captain and most likely a lieutenant are going to have to sit down and not only read, but then go through all the things that you just went through, DVDs with BWCs on them, written documentation, potentially information that's come out of court. In addition to all their regular duties, it's a large burden of information. And so the more time they allow to then formulate that into a disciplinary document, the better the disciplinary document becomes. And then once we go down the line for Skelly hearings and chief's appeals and things of that nature, everything is better given that extra little bit of time. Because, you know, at 10 months, it becomes 11 months. And then sometimes we're getting documents and cases back where we have 10 days now to produce an advance notice or some type of permanent discipline. And that's really tough. It tends to not produce a very good product on the other end.
Will the captains or whoever is issuing the discipline, depending on the officer's title or where they rank, will the higher ups take into account the reviews from the CPP and the suggested, depending on what's going on, the suggested potential disciplinary actions or the potential what can moving forward?
So you're saying when we get it back, taking into account, it would depend on whether there was a disagreement. If you're just agreeing in full, then we're just gonna move forward. I think that will be more of my job to see what you're bringing back to us in terms of feedback. And then translate that into something if there needs to be a communication with an individual captain who's providing discipline, whether or not that is something that we could take into account legally, there's always that question as well, or whether or not we can fold that in somehow to maybe either mitigate or aggravate the discipline based on your feedback. That will be my job to decide.
So it would go to you and to kind of ferret out the discipline.
It'll come
portion.
back through IA.
Exactly.
Eventually come back.
And so will you take that into account? Is what I'm asking.
Feedback is the most important thing that anybody in a position of power or a supervisory position can take. So we're never going to discount it and ignore it. Everything that comes back through IA, I will see.
Thank you. Commissioner Harvey? Anyone else? Is there anything else you would like to add, Captain?
No, I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some of the questions and being willing to come out. We look forward. You're welcome anytime to share anything you would like to share. Just reach out to our interim executive director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Sure.
All right, now we're moving on to new business. So this is the conflict of interest policy and form formulated by our outside counsel, Bennett. And this was follow-up from a conversation the CPP had a few meetings ago, where if commissioners are involved in a complaint or know of a complaint, they would recuse themselves for absolute transparency for this commission. So I turn it over to outside counsel, Mr.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. The chair asked me to work on this policy for you all, as well as the forum, in light of what we had already discussed. I think that when you first were seated, we talked about independence, objectivity, impartiality, and the need to be free from conflicts of interest. And it actually works both ways. If you have a close tie to someone in the police department, and you have interest in that case, and that case is coming before the commission, you should recuse. You have no business participating in that matter. By the same token, if there is a complaint or something that's coming in from the outside and you're involved in that, again, we have the same issue in terms of transparency and objectivity. I know that when I drafted this policy, and commissioners, all I can tell you is I've been advising public officials now since my days as assistant city attorney in Oceanside, 1992, all the way through the city council and the board of port commissioners, and have advised many commissioners. Conflicts of interest are very serious. And in your positions, you all, although you're not involved in financial conflicts of interest, for example, per se, you are bound to uphold and to comply with the City of San Diego's Code of Ethics, as well as their conflict of interest code. This policy would be in addition to that. And what this policy states, I think it's pretty clear. I think it's a good policy. And it is in furtherance of your job and your fiduciary responsibilities to be objective, neutral, impartial when you're reviewing these cases. Even though you don't have final decision-making authority, you are in a position to make recommendations that could affect somebody's career. So whether they get terminated, or as the captain said, whether this commission says something and the department decides to step up discipline, that could affect that person. Doing that with a conflict of interest is not transparent. So the commission has to be open and accountable and transparent, which means that you have to be open and accountable and transparent to the public, to the police department, and to the commission. And you can't do that if you have something that is there that is influencing your decision. You can't be fair and impartial. So this policy is in furtherance of that goal to help flesh those issues out. Chair asked me also to come up with a form. The form is attached, but as I explained to the chair, you can't implement the form without a policy that says that the commission agrees to comply with this practice in its policy and with the form. So as I indicated, I think the policy is self-explanatory. I tried to make it clear and concise. It's nothing that is any different than you'll see in many other commissions of your sort. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'll take them.
Do we have any public comment?
We have no in-person public comment. If you're like to speak, please raise your hand now. Item.
Thank you, Ms. Obeid. Okay, well, now we have discussion on this item. I actually would like to add on page 2 in number 1 and number 2, where it says disclose that conflict to the executive director. It should be executive director and chair. I would like to add, so it's 2 people. And also on item number 2, where it says executive director, add and chair. So that would be my recommended changes. Anybody else want to discuss this form or any of the other forms? One more thing on the form itself, I would like to add at the very bottom, please submit this completed form to the executive director and chair. It's right at the very bottom, really small, if that's okay. Anyone else have any changes, have any feedback on this?
Also, commissioners, keep in mind that any such disclosures are public records. And that's the key. And so the record that is submitted to the executive director and chair will be retained as public records. It's really, really important. The reason you would want to make sure that it goes through the office of the CPP is to ensure that it is maintained consistent with the Public Records Office. The Public Records Act.
Commissioner Byer? Oh, yeah, you looked like you were about to speak. Never.
I was just gonna say, I move to accept this draft, Commission on Police Practices Conflict of Interest Policy with the 3 amendments suggested by the chair.
A second? Commissioner Benitez, any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. Now, these forms, once they're finalized, they will be, you can get them. We'll put them in the Google Doc. Can we do that? Okay. And then can we mail out a link to that where they can find them? Perfect. Okay. So once they're finalized, and also we'll try to get electronic copies at one point. So thank you very much. I want to thank outside counsel, Mr. Bennett, for coming up with this. I think it's really important that we keep transparency in this commission and that the public's aware of everything that we're aware of. We represent the community. So thank you again. All right, moving on to community hearings. All right, so one thing that the cabinet has discussed and this commission has discussed is holding community hearings on issues important to the community, whether it's complaints. We had a case back in October where we voted to have 4 community hearings throughout the year. Well, the first one that we decided on is next Wednesday, March 6th, will be on police pursuits. And it is in light of a complaint that was filed where 2 little boys were killed during a police pursuit. We are inviting the police department to come and present their policy. And then we will also have other people, members from the community, to present their concerns. If the police decline to come, Mr. Bennett will present the policy. So this will be an information gathering type of meeting. We're not going to make decisions at this meeting. We're going to take down the information, look at the policy, review the policy as a commission, see what we think needs to be changed, or is it policies that are already in force but are not being followed, and then come up with recommendations. And in order to do that successfully, we can't do it that night. So, and the community will be made aware that it's an information gathering process, what the concerns are. So we're starting that on March 6th. Now, on October 7th, in a report out from closed session, outside counsel Dwayne Bennett reported in open session that the commission voted unanimously to hold community forums by June 30th of this year on 4 topics. It was pretext stops, Fourth Amendment waiver searches, the Special Operations Unit methodologies, and de-escalation policies and training. While the commission voted to hold these forums by June 30th of this year, the cabinet has discussed extending that time period for a number of reasons. First, we need to hire a permanent executive director, and the need to have community meetings on that takes precedence at this moment, because we had hoped to have a permanent director by the end of the first quarter. That's unlikely to happen, but we can still hope. And also the need to hire a policy analyst that can help us research and develop policy recommendations, look at other police departments, do research on it, because none of us have time to do that. We're all volunteers and have other jobs or commitments. Dr. Scarborough is making this hiring a priority. Therefore, I would like to move that we extend the time period to hold the community hearings on these topics through the end of 2024. First, I have to see if we have any public comment. Ms. Obeid.
We have no in-person public comment on this item. If you are joining us
Virtually and would like to speak on this topic, please raise
your hand now using the Zoom.
feature.
Again, if you're joining us virtually, please raise your hand now. This concludes public comment for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I make an official motion, I would like to see if there's any discussion on this matter. So what it is, it would extend the timeline because we voted June 30th. If we're going to do it well, we have discussed this and do not believe we can do it well. And I don't want to do anything if we're not going to do a good job at it. So any comment on that? Commissioner Harvey, please grab a mic.
I'd just like to know when will we be scheduling our first? When will we be scheduling our first hearing?
first community hearing actually will be March 6th. It'll be on police pursuits. As far as the other four, we don't have official dates yet, but we will, the motion would be to have them before the end of this year, 2024. So it's extending it 6 months, giving us 6 months. And also it's going to get us in the mode of how we're handling these, and we're still foundation building. So prior to 2024, and we will come up with a schedule. And then we'll present it to the commission and the community, but we do not have an official schedule right now.
Chair King.
Yes, I'm not, actually it relates to the prior item of the police pursuit forum. I wanted to make it clear that the purpose of the forum is to discuss the policy, not to discuss the case, because a complaint has been made on this case, and Internal Affairs will be reviewing it, and then the commission will have an opportunity to review that investigation. So we will not be making a decision, or we can discuss generally that case, but we need to be careful. The purpose of the hearing is to discuss generally the pursuit policy of the police, not necessarily that particular case.
Thank you. That was an important designation, and he's absolutely right. Anybody else? Commissioner Benitez.
It's also about that community forum, not about the vote. Just to be clear, will the members of the department be there? March 14th.
March 6th.
March 6th.
Dr. Scarborough is working with PD to invite them, and I'm turning it over.
We have an extensive community outreach. Yasmin can speak about the plan to inform, invite, follow up with on March 6th.
I'm wondering who's going to be speaking at the, either from the commission or from the department. You know, I get the community members, of course, will be, involved. I'm just wondering what the setup is. It's very soon.
We are inviting the police department. An invitation has been put out. We still are waiting to hear who exactly it will be. If for some reason they decline the invitation, outside counsel Bennett has offered to present the policy. Thank you.
We have invited, and they have accepted, Tasha Williamson and the mother and uncle of the 2 boys that perished in the last pursuit. They will be here to provide public testimony. And so that's probably the key question that you were asking. We have reached out, invited, and they've accepted, and will be here to share their experience.
Commission, just to clarify, what Vice Chair Kay said is correct. We're not here, and you're not here to deal with the complaint, but you will recall that the reason this issue is before you is because a member of the public put it in front of you. So Ms. Williamson came and she complained about the practices and the procedures relative to the vehicle pursuit. And so you, as a commission, have the right to analyze procedures and practices of the department to see how those department procedures and practices affect the community, and to evaluate them and to potentially make, recommendations. You might find that everything was fine once you hear everything, but you might find that there's a problem or something that needs to be followed up on, or something that needs to be changed. That's directly within your purview of the commission, and that's the purpose of this hearing on March the 6th.
Anyone else have any other questions? All right, so I'm going to move that we extend the deadline to hold those 4 community forums that we voted on October through 2024. Do we have a second? Commissioner Benitez, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Thank you so much. Now we move on to the ad hoc committee reports. Co-chairs Benitez and Byer on the bylaws.
We've been busy and traveling, and so we just finally got it announced. Actually, that's true, but We've taken into consideration all the comments and incorporated, all of the comments that we felt that we could, into a new revised version. That we've asked the chair and executive director, from executive director to research. Barring any additional feedback, we intend to have the finalized bylaws by whatever our next meeting is.
We're looking for states that not due to the hearing, we might be able to be the next final to the end. All right. Also, if you have any more feedback, please send it to co-chairs Byer and Benitez, because we want to get as much information as possible. These bylaws are ones we're going to live with. Obviously, we can change them by voting them in, but please, and I again want to thank co-chairs Byer and Benitez for stepping up and taking this over. Really appreciate it. All right, moving on to the operating procedures, co-chair Case.
We have not met since the last meeting because of people's travel plans, but we are meeting next Wednesday, which is the 5th Wednesday of the month. And we hope to get through the remainder of the investigations procedure. That may be a little bit optimistic, but that's what our goal is. And so that's where we stand. And you're welcome to join us 6 p.m. By Zoom next Wednesday.
Commissioner, excuse me, Ms. Obi, do we have any public comment on either the bylaws committee or the operating procedures committee?
We have no in-person public comment on both items. If you're joining us virtually and would like to speak on either item, please raise your hand now using the raise hand feature. Again, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand now. This concludes public comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Obi. Now we move to the Ad Hoc Personnel Committee. Chair Brown.
As I mentioned in the last meeting, the City Council has taken responsibility for the process of hiring the new executive director. They have created an ad hoc committee, which is the name is Ad Hoc Committee for the Recruitment of the Executive Director to the Commission on Police Practices. So it's a mouthful. However, it will be an inclusive committee. And in fact, the Ad Hoc Personnel Committee from this commission will be participants, and that will be myself, Commissioners Malmuth, Honoré, Justice, and Diaz, hopefully. And we will be working with 2 city council persons, Ms. Von Wilpert and Mr. Campillo. The first meeting of this committee will be on 28th February, 2 o'clock in City Council chambers, and it will be a public meeting. So there should be, if there's necessary, if you're interested in participating, then please be aware and come if necessary. With that, we also had a commitment to have community input on the qualities that we would like to see in an executive director. And our Ms. Obi, excuse me, okay, Mrs. Do I have to say that? Has some information about how that is going to proceed. Thank you, Ms. Obi.
Thank you, First Vice Chair. So we are planning to host an executive director community forum for the Commission on Police Practices on Saturday, March 16th from 12 to 1:30 p.m. at the Balboa Recital Hall. Lunch will be provided, and we really encourage and would love to have community members join, share their feedback, and have a conversation and a discussion about their vision for this position. In regards to our outreach, I've come up with a very extensive plan for outreach that includes various forms, such as our social media, our newsletter, our email listserv, one-on-one conversations and calls, press, etc. And our goal is to reach 200 contacts, get 100 RSVPs, and have 50 people in the room on the day of the forum. And in order to reach our goal, which is ambitious, we need all hands on deck. That includes support from commissioners, staff, and community leaders. And with that being said, we're asking that each commissioner personally invite 10 people to this forum through one-on-one conversations. So this could be in-person conversations, this could be over the phone, whatever you're comfortable with, but we recommend one-on-one invitations and personal conversations. And we're asking that commissioners complete this by Friday, March 8th. And I'm happy to take questions if folks have any. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment first before we have commissioner discussion?
We have no in-person public comment, and I see one hand raised virtually. Evie, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. You have 90 seconds.
Okay. Thank you, Yasmin. And I need to tell you that the sound is much better this time. I think you worked on it and I appreciate that. I've been able to understand almost everything. My comment, the first one I'd like to make is, or actually even ask a question, what is going to be the role of the two safety members that are on the city council at the time that the four other commissioners are meeting with them? What is their role? What have they decided and why are they calling this meeting? It seems to me that is, if they are taking control of it and have, are not handling it like it was for the position of the community coordinator, that they have changed the process and they are taking over the role of really the community having a lot to say about what's going on. I think it's an impingement of the independence of this commission, and I would like that to be clearly stated. And if Mr. Bennett would make a comment about that, I believe the ordinance says that the executive director is there at the pleasure of the commissioners, and therefore the commissioners should be in control of handling what the search comes down with in the last maybe 10 or so, however many they get that they feel are good. Anyway.
Sorry, thank you, Evie. This concludes your time. This concludes public comment on this item.
To answer the question that was brought up, the charter requires that the city council have purview over the hiring of the executive director and approval of the executive director. Why we are part of it is because they realize that it is important that as an independent agency, we have some say so in how this process proceeds and who is going to be ultimately selected.
And the ordinance says that they do serve at the pleasure of the commission. So if, quite frankly, the city council hires someone that does not work well with the commission, we do have the right to remove that person and hire someone else. So it's a win-win if they work together. And I just want to thank First Vice Chair Brown for all of his work and his coordination with the city council. It's been exemplary, so thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, Second Vice Chair Case.
Yeah, can you repeat when the ad hoc committee is going to meet, and will it be televised on city TV?
The first meeting is going to occur next Wednesday, 2 o'clock at City Council chambers.
And my second is, do you know if it's gonna be available to the
I have no idea yet. That has not been determined by me, or I don't know who does that. It's 2 o'clock on the 28th. It'll be in the committee room, yes. In the committee room.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Justice.
The meeting Saturday, the 15th. What time is that again?
The meeting will be on Saturday, the 16th of March from 12 to 1:30 p.m. at the Balboa Park Recital Hall. This building right there. Yes.
Can I please ask, Dr. Scarborough or, Ms. Condi to send an invite to commissioners? This is not a quorum meeting, so it's come if you can. It would be nice to have as many commissioners there as possible. It is a public information gathering meeting.
Yeah, okay, so not to speak over the chair. The problem becomes once a gathering of you as a quorum are in that room, we have a noticing issue. So if you want to notice it as a public meeting under the Brown Act, that's another thing. So in other words, commissioners, we don't need a quorum of you there. We don't want a quorum of you there. Just keep everything safe, not a quorum of you. Please, don't more of you show up. If you start counting the numbers. If you see the number, leave. Don't come in.
Actually, let's do it this way. Send an email to the commission, please. RSVP to Dr. Scarborough. We will see if there's a quorum. If there is, we will let people know, and then people can either decline. We'll make sure there's not a quorum. Does that work? The problem is if we notice it and don't get a quorum, we have to cancel the meeting. All right. And then so let's all respond. Let's have whoever Dr. Scarborough does as the first come, first serve. So it has to be less than 9 at this point. Unless our new commissioners have taken the oath of office, it might be less than 11. We'll work it out. So RSVP to her once the invitation goes out. We'll make sure there's not a quorum. Are you comfortable with that? And this is why we appreciate our outside counsel so much. Any other discussion? All right, we're moving on to that. So we're going into closed session, so we're gonna take a quick break. Hang on, Commissioner Benitez.
Thank you. So the purpose of this community forum regarding the executive director, right? If we're not supposed to be there, you'll be there, you will be there. And it's not being. Okay, so does it make sense that the members of your committee, if they're available, which does not constitute a forum, that they be there because you all are going to be taking this feedback to the larger ad hoc committee, correct?
We'll be meeting on Friday, and that's one of the things that will be recommended.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so do we have any public comment for closed session?
We have no in-person public comment for closed session. If you are joining us virtually and would like to speak on the portion of this meeting, please raise your hand now.
It's not.
With that, please raise your hand now if you'd like to speak on closed session. This concludes public comment on this item. Thank you.
All right, just for transparency, I'm gonna have Mr. Dwayne Bennett lead us into closed session. We will take a short break of 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will start the closed session. So, Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There would be a recommended closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54-957 to discuss complaints, charges, and investigations deemed confidential under Penal Code Sections 832.5 through 832.8. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. We are now going into closed session. Take a.
Yeah, I'm going 1 second.
Come back at 6 o'clock. Alina, you want to let us know when we're ready?
Yes, it's the webinar has started. I just need to, actually, yeah, it's recording.
Okay, thank you all. We're coming back to open session, and I turn it over to our outside counsel, Dwayne Bennett. It is now 6:40. Mr. Bennett.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The commission met in closed session under the provisions of Government Code Section 54-957 to discuss cases that are deemed confidential under the Penal Code. Penal Code Sections 832.5 through 832.8 specifically. The commission gave direction. There is no reportable action. That will conclude my closed session report.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bennett. All right, we have time for commissioner comments. You want to go around the table, see if there's anything anyone wants to share? Commissioner Justice.
So the other day I received a check from the city and I didn't know what it was for. I'm usually sending them money rather than them sending me money. And so it finally dawned on me, the amount coincided with the amount I paid to attend the Nicole conference. So I was reimbursed for the conference.
Mr. Commissioner Harvey.
The meeting we're having on the 6th, that's a very important meeting. I just wanted to state that there was another, I saw that on the news, there was another where another police chase where the police car and the subject both went in the ditch.
The staff is looking at that as well and seeing if the suspects are available or to talk about or just to see what happened. No, they actually were not, they were hurt but not seriously injured. Yes. We're looking into it. How's that? Okay. And also, part of our ordinance that I actually sent to Commissioner Benitez is one of the things that we are tasked with looking into is things of public interest. And since this was brought to us, by a community member, we absolutely have the right to take information, see if policy is being followed, see if there needs to be a change to policy. And we have been advised all along by Mr. Bennett. So we are completely in compliance with the ordinance. So I hope that you can share with your community members to please come if this has been an issue. We want to hear other stories and we want to know what's going on. And we really do hope the police come and explain their policy to us so that we can understand it. Thank you. Yes. Anyone else? Commissioner Byer.
Yeah, last time I was asking about the calendar and the calendar was confirmed and I was going to go to the meeting on Saturday the 17th, but luckily we were having a Zoom meeting about something else and they said, oh no, we don't have a meeting on the 17th. So the Saturday meetings are only like their backup meetings. So shouldn't plan on going unless told otherwise. And how far in advance are we going to know? Because I have to set, we have things to do.
We will give you at least 2 weeks notice. I mean, and unless there's some sort of emergency and we would call it, if we don't have a quorum, we can't even meet. So we apologize for the misunderstanding. If they're starred, it means that they're dates where the meeting room was saved just in case we need it. For example, if we didn't meet quorum and we knew we could meet quorum on a Saturday, then we'll hold that. So just to be clear, the Saturday meetings are just in case we need them, and we hope to give you as much advance notice. We can't hold a meeting without a quorum, so we have to give everyone notice. So just kind of pencil them lightly in. At this point, we are not using those dates. Thank you for clarifying. All right, we are adjourning at 6:45. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. The meeting is over.